Hello and welcome to another episode of the HCP podcast, the podcast where we talk to well-known healthcare professionals across the globe about how they manage their own health, fitness, nutrition and mindset around the demands of working in healthcare and around life. So today we are joined by Helena, who you will otherwise know as A Young Doctor's Journey from Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, or possibly her website and blog. And we're going to dive right into it. So welcome and let's get to it. Hi Helena and welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Great to have you here. Whilst the intro, I did a brief intro from you from kind of your online profile. It'd be great if you could maybe describe yourself in your own words, kind of where you're at in terms of your career.
Of course. All right. So I'm in the US. I just finished residency on the East Coast, and I graduated from emergency medicine, and now I'm a full-time, what we call locum tenens attending, meaning I travel for work. I'm based on the East Coast, but I usually fly somewhere to the middle of America for a string of shifts. And then I come back, I hang out at home for a while or travel internationally, and then I go back. So that's kind of my life right now. It's a big transition time. So you can't see it because I've strategically set up the camera so you can't see the chaos. But we're actually in the middle of moving, so there's boxes everywhere and piles of things that are semi-organized and need to be further tidied.
So, so serious life change going on. Yeah. I do not miss all the packing, all the unpacking, all the labeling.
I want this to be the last time we move for like the next foreseeable future, like 5-10 years, please. This is it.
Yeah, more than that is too often. Definitely too often.
Yeah.
Would not recommend. Fantastic. And it sounds pretty exotic. Travel, well, for people who are listening like in the UK, a long travel for us would be like driving 3 or 4 hours maybe, whereas I imagine for yourself that's just like normal flight length you do each week. So yes, sounds pretty exotic. For me, is it emergency medicine that you are attending in? Yes.
Emergency medicine, yes. And that makes it really easy because we do shift work anyway, so.
Yes, because it's more of a natural transition for you. Did you always want to specialize in emergency medicine, or was that something you kind of went into later on or in your career?
I mean, that's a good question. I went into medical school thinking I wanted to be a surgeon. I really liked quick fixes to things, and I like the idea of, quote, fixing some problem that you saw in front of you. But the more I spent doing surgeries, I realized I was way too impatient. I did not have the patience to, do every tiny detail and kind of search through the body and find what was missing. I didn't have the patience for it. And then I kind of discovered emergency medicine, which is literally the specialty for people with no attention spans. And it's perfect. I mean, that's who I am at my core. So I like it a lot. We see a little bit of everything, so we like to joke and say it's the best 15 minutes of every specialty. Like the sickest people come to us, and then we just pass them on.
Refer them on.
So it's a lot of fun.
Nice. Yes. And if you're anything like the many emergency medicine clients and people I've spoken to in the past, I assume you actually kind of love and maybe thrive in sort of the chaos of the job.
I like to think so. It does get overwhelming sometimes, and I think that's why we often say that the burnout rate in emergency medicine is very, very high, because just being in that high stress scenario for like 10, 12 hours at a time, a couple days in a row, I mean, it gets to be a lot. But I've also found that this specialty lends itself to work-life balance a lot more than certain other specialties. So I think I'll be okay, but ask me again in a few years.
Yes, yeah. We'll put a pin in that for a few years' time. Yes, I think it's finding that balance that works for you for sure is the big thing. I suppose maybe locuming gives you more choice, I suppose, about balance. You can choose to do more or less, I guess, rather than a regular role. But for people listening, when you are, let's say, doing a locum string for a week, what does that shift pattern normally look like? Is it like 12 hours on, 12 hours off, or what does that look like?
Usually, yes. Usually I try to do 12s because that's just more worthwhile for being away from home. So it's either 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or like 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. or 12, like noon to midnight. Those are the most common shifts. And then every once in a while I'll take on some night shifts, which are usually the opposite. So like 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. is the most common night shift. And I usually stay at a hotel, so I'm about anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes away from the hospital. So I have a very quick commute, and then I usually go back to the hotel and I sleep, or I eat, or I watch some TV, and then go back to work.
Okay, yeah, so sort of, I'd say relatively similar to then a lot of others
Yeah.
that in the UK and Australia that often speak to similar-ish kind of patterns, I guess. And when you're locuming, do you find there's a lot of run over in terms of shifts? Like you get towards the end of the shift and you end up having to stay longer or later, or is it fairly good for being like your 12 hours are on and you're able to go home?
That's a very good question. Generally, if the hospital's well run, you have somebody that you can sign your patients out to. So 10 o'clock rolls around, or like 9:55, and you're like, hey doc, I've got 2 patients for you, and then you hand them over. There's a few places I've worked at where they don't have that night person there, so it's very hard to sign out. If it gets busy, I'll stay maybe an hour, 30 minutes to an hour later, but it's actually very different because in residency we would stay late all the time and nobody cared. Like, you were not compensated for that time. In fact, because you're a salaried worker, the longer you work, the more hours you work, the less you make hourly. Whereas right now, like if I do stay over 30 minutes to an hour, I email my agency and I said, hey, these were my overtime hours for today, and this was the reason why. A critical patient arrived, and so I had to stay late. And so they compensate. So it's not as soul-crushing as it was back in residency, and I don't mind it as much.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely good you have that, not safety net, but there's I suppose there's a reward for if you are then having to do later and that side of things, at least that comes with it too. So you're not just, as you say, the per hour rate suddenly starts to plummet, I suppose, in residency in particular. You're just kind of living at the hospital.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Fantastic. All right. Well, what we'll do, we'll jump into the quick fire segment. Now, I say it's quick fire. How quick fire actually ends up being is always in the air. I think that the quickest quick fire is probably still like 5 minutes. So it's never that quick, but we'll see how you go. You could be the new leader for the quick fire segment. So first question is, what's your go-to work snack?
Ooh, well, it depends. If you asked me like 3 years ago, I would say those little cosmic brownies that are very popular in the US, like processed stuff with little M&Ms on it. But about a year and a half ago, I started going on my healthy journey, and so now grapes. I love grapes, especially the crunchy ones. They almost feel like chips. They're so crunchy. It's definitely genetically modified. 100% not good for you, but they're yummy.
Grapes are fantastic. My 2-year-old would 100% agree with you. She eats probably her body weight in grapes each week. It's unbelievable how many grapes she can put away. Yeah, grapes are great. To be fair, I'm a good advocate for grapes in general for people having them as a good snack. It's a good small size. They're actually not too calorie dense. It gives you one of your 5 a day. Yeah, much better than. There's definitely a lot worse options out there than.
For sure.
For a US reference, it's better than living off like Twinkies on shift. Ultimately, yeah, I could do with that. Okay, what's your go-to coffee order?
Ooh, something sweet. Usually like a vanilla latte or a mocha latte. Yeah. Not great, but it's actually why I like making coffee at home, is because I can make it as sweet or not sweet as I want.
Yeah. Do you, I suppose on shift, you're able to get kind of do you go to the canteen for that kind of thing, or is it just that's more a home?
It depends. It depends on the hospital where I'm at. A lot of the smaller outside hospitals, they just have like brewed coffee. So, the coffee machine. I'm not a big fan of those, but what can you do? Some of the nicer hospitals will have like either a cafe or like a coffee shop, and then I'll get something there.
Yeah, okay, that's pretty good. And do you find you get chance on shift to go and get one, basically? Do you find that fairly common? You're able to get time to go and do that?
No, but you make time, and I've started making time. And this is something you learn in residency, is that you will never, there's always more patients to be seen. You will never have like downtime. So at one point I'll tell the nurses, I'm going to go get a coffee. And then 5 minutes later, I'm still not gone. And then 10 minutes later, they're like, have you gotten your coffee? And I'll be like, no, I'm going to go now, I promise. And then finally, eventually, I just leave.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a word of wisdom for people listening, is that, you have to choose to make the time, otherwise you never will, 100%. And I think that's definitely medicine, but certainly across a lot of careers.
Yeah.
It's if you don't make that time, then no one's going to make it for you, and there's always going to be more work, more emails, more patients,
Always.
whatever, you'll always be busy. So yeah, you have to do that for you've got to do it for yourself, I think is the big thing. You mentioned health kick, so do you track your steps? Do you have like an Apple Watch or a Garmin that you track your steps on, or do you not care about that?
I do have an Apple Watch. I don't track my steps, but I do track my workouts when I work out. I find it very motivating to see the calories like climb up, and it's been fun doing that. Now my Apple Watch battery is so dead that it like doesn't last even a full day, so I need to get a new one.
That is not ideal. Yeah, I mean, I would plug. I'm not sponsored by Garmin, but I would plug a Garmin just
I've
because
heard that.
they are good.
You guys,
Yeah.
but it's so not pretty.
you, you can make them prettier.
I really should look into it because we've gotten into hiking in recent years, and it's like the outdoors person. It's like the athletic watch. Like Apple Watches are aesthetic, and I know Garmin is for more sportsy people.
They are good. It's very rugged, but there are a range of models now, and you can make them prettier. You can get covers and cases. I mean, I say that, and I just got mine is black, and I got a black case for it
Let's see
anyway.
it.
So
Do you have
made
it?
it no more pretty. Yeah.
Okay, it looks kind of nice and like classy. Classic. I like
Yeah,
it.
yeah. You can get if you get some of the newer ones are like they can be refined. You can get different bands for them. You know, I don't normally have a black band. I normally have like a nice green one. Yeah, I would give them a thumbs up. They're good, and the customer service is very good. I had one that lasted like 3 or 4 years, and then I was surfing and it just completely died on me. I think salt water got into it. And I messaged the support being like, hey, I'm out of warranty, but is there like a return repair thing or something? Because it was nice watch I paid good money for. And they were like, oh, no, you're out of warranty. Let's see if we have a replacement model, which I think they were only going to charge me like $200 for a replacement, which is a lot cheaper than a new one. And they're like, oh, we don't have your model in stock, but give me 2 minutes and I can see if I can get you something else. And I was like, oh, I don't really want a lesser model, but okay. And instead they're like, oh, we've got the brand new top of the range watch instead
Wow,
that you can have for $200. Is that okay? And I was like, yes, that's
that's
okay.
okay. I'll
More than
survive.
happy with that. Yeah. More than $1,000 brand new and you're giving me $200 out of warranty for no reason whatsoever. I was like, yes, that's totally fine. I literally sent a
Okay.
Christmas card to the guy. I like
That's
addressed the Christmas card to Garmin HQ with his name on, being like, for that guy. So whether he got it, I don't know.
I love that. I think we should do more of that. Just like little gestures of gratitude. So I'm gonna put that away in my brain and think, who can I thank? Because there's so many people who do nice things for us all the time, and they don't have to. Like it doesn't matter to them. That's so nice.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's sometimes, there's like service people, someone who's customer
Yeah.
service, for example, is a common one where like often they are going above and beyond or actually are really making a real bit of help for you, which can be, and it's very easy, I think, for people to get quite frustrated and be like, well, it's their job and that kind of thing. But, it's if someone's just saved you a shed load of money or stress or hassle or solve something, like it takes you, it's a nice thing you can do for someone that might make their day.
I like
Why
that a
not?
lot.
Why not spread a bit of love?
Yeah.
So, yes, but back to it, Garmin, I'd recommend.
Consider me influenced. I'm gonna look into them.
Yeah, some good options.
Yeah.
You may also, I don't know whether it works, but definitely some insurers, if you have like your own health insurance, that side of things, some of them do often have like a discount with Garmin. So it's worth checking if you have any like benefits, that sort of thing. Like mine gets you 30% off, for
Let
example.
me let me
It's
write
worth
that
a check.
down. All right. I'm learning a
Um,
lot.
no worries. Yeah, hopefully that was helpful to someone listening. Another key question is, do you have a go-to workout song, genre, or playlist for when you're at the gym?
No, and I think I should because I think it would pump me up. But like sometimes I'll find myself listening to the most downer songs on Taylor Swift songs about heartbreak, and I'll be like, this is not doing it for me. And I think that would might automate my workouts a little more. Like instead of having to search for songs to have a go-to list. But for a while I did use to listen to bachata, which is like a Spanish
Yes.
certain type of music, and that was great because it really put me in like the dancing mood and the active mood. So I should make a workout playlist. I really should.
Yeah, it's worth doing, or even it depends if you're on like Spotify or if you use YouTube Music or Apple Music.
Yeah.
But some do have like kind of the AI generated playlist that then will give you like workout options of like 1 to 5 that are kind of different genres. Um, I've actually just ended up finding new music that I've not heard before through those that also then been quite good. But yeah, the problem is if you have one playlist, after maybe a month, you'll then be really bored of all the songs on there.
Yes.
And yes, I think trying different genres, 100%. I need to try bachata. I think that would be a good option for me. I am looking for something new at the moment, so it's on my list. Key question, probably the most important question. What is your favorite dessert?
Ooh. Molten lava cakes with vanilla ice cream. Like the gooey center just flows open. And very few places do it well. That's the
Mm,
thing. A lot of them overcook it or bake it. So it's hard to find a good one. But those are like if it's on a restaurant menu, that's what I'm getting without fail.
that is a good choice, 100%. Is there a particular restaurant you like go to for that or chain?
Chili's.
Chili's. Yeah,
Chili's hits the spot every single time.
that's good to know. Okay. The next time I'm in the US, don't know when that'll be. I'll have to try Chili's milk vanilla chocolate pudding. Yeah, I do like them as well. I did try making some last year, which turned out okay, but yeah, it's all in that timing. Got to get the timing right, otherwise it's just a chocolate
Yeah.
sponge.
Yep, yep.
Okay, so that was a pretty good quick fire segment. You were fairly quick, and I, if anything, dragged that out. So I think you might be the new leader on the quick fire segment. So what we get to do is chat a bit more around like your fitness and nutrition and like how do you balance it, I suppose, alongside your work, and is that something that you've maybe found easier now that you're in attending versus when you're in residency?
So I've been struggling a lot because of this change, because of the travel and the moving. Ever since as I graduated residency, I just have not been as committed, which is surprising, I think, to most people because everyone expects it to get exponentially better when you have more free time. But I've actually found like I'm lazier. I spend full on like 24 hours at home. I don't leave the house. I don't change clothes. Like, this is an honor for you that I've put new clothes on because I have not changed.
Thank you.
So I think so. Okay, so I'd like to talk a little bit about residency and what that's like. And I know it's different for every resident, but a lot of people go into it thinking that you're not going to have time for fitness. And for me, it was literally the opposite. So like I would work and then I would work out, and those were the two things that I did for a few years. Like I really, really committed to working out because it was the only thing that made me feel good. Like after I got into the mindset of routinely working out, there were like that was my non-negotiable. Every single week I would put onto my schedule like my shifts and then I would put in my workouts and I would try to do 3 was a good week, 4 was a phenomenal week. And if I was working out less than 3 times a week, I felt like crap. I was moody, I was not feeling proud of my like there was just so many not even fitness but like psychological aspects of it. And I realized that a lot of people don't understand. Like one weekend I was going to visit my mom. They live about 2 hours away, so it was like kind of a big trip during residency. And I told her like, yeah, I'm going to come down for the night, but the only thing I want to do is like get a quick workout and get a quick workout in. And she was kind of upset. She was like, what do you mean? Like you only see us like once every 2 months and you have to work out? And I was like, Mom, I need you to understand, like, this is the only thing that makes me feel sane right now. And once she understood that, like, she got it and I do my workouts and everything's fine, but it's like, you don't understand what it's like to just work and do nothing else and need that one thing. So for me, it was working out. The fittest I've ever been in my life was during residency, which I know it's weird. I miss those days. I have to get back into that because I prioritized between that and sleep. Like those were the two big ones. I wanted to do 3 workouts a week, and I wanted to sleep 7 to 8 hours. And for emergency medicine, I think it's a little easier because we do spend less time in the hospital than a lot of other specialties. But I learned that if you prioritize it, you can make it possible. And so please don't believe people who are all negative and are like, oh, you're going to not be able to work out. It is possible. It's not easy. But once you get into the swing of it, like it will, I promise you, it'll be like the best thing you could do for yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I absolutely love that. It's a really common thread that I often touch on with in kind of my own content and then in conversations with people as well. It's like ultimately you have a choice. Like you can choose to make this sufferable experience and kind of you're just letting life kind of happen to you and getting caught in that eat,
Yeah.
sleep, work, repeat kind of cycle. Or yeah, you can choose to kind of push that boat a little bit and try and get workouts in. And as you say, once you start, it gets easier and easier, and you feel instantly so much better for it. There's so much you get from a physical, but also actually from, as you say, from a mental side of things that comes from regular exercise and having a thing that isn't just work. I think as well for some people is often a benefit too. What sort of triggered you starting that journey during residency? Like there was a particular week or moment that you were like, right, I need to do something about this, or how did it happen?
No, it was so when I was studying for my like medical school exams is when I started regularly working out. And I had done those like aerobics classes a lot at gyms, and I wasn't getting results, and it was kind of frustrating because I felt like I was working out, but nothing was improving. And then I came across this style of workout classes called Body Pump. It's by Les Mills. It's like a group workout class for those of you who don't know, and you use a barbell with weights, and each song is set to, or is like each song is for a different muscle group. So like you'll have a squat song and then you'll have an arm song and then you'll have a back song and whatever. And it's just like they change the workout every 6 or so weeks, so it's always a little bit different, and you go and you're in a gym with other people and you feel ashamed that the 70-year-old next to you is like squatting more than you are. So like, okay, I could do this, I will do this, I'll be better. So it's very motivating. But anyway, so that was when I discovered that was the first and only thing I ever felt like made a difference for me. And so I found those classes and I would put them into my schedule. And I tell residents this, like, I would schedule 4 or 5 classes into my week. And that gave me the permission to, like, be lazy and not go to one of them. Because I would still end up going to 4 or 3. Even if one of those days I was like, okay, I'm too tired, I don't want to do this. It doesn't matter because I still end up going to 3 if I'm making even just one cancellation. So anyway, I found that my first year was kind of tough. I was going through a breakup. So I think that like helped catapult me into the, revenge body mindset. But it became so much more than that. It was just like, it was a great, great transition period where I learned to actually love my body and be proud of who I was looking at in the mirror. And it was a feeling I'd never really had before. So it was very motivational.
Yeah, I think it often doesn't necessarily matter the what or how you start. It's turning that energy into something that you can do consistently as you did, and then as you see, it becomes so much more for you. And then knowing that it's fantastic. I suppose the pre-booking sessions is one thing you did. Is there anything else you did during residency that helped you stay consistent with doing your workouts and kind of keeping to the fitness routine?
So the putting it on my schedule was really, really big. And then the fact that like some of them I would have a friend come with me was very helpful. And that's a little hard to organize because you have to find somebody who lives in the area. But having a motivational or accountability buddy, I think, can help a lot. But it was really just seeing the results. Like for the first time in my life, I was like, I'm stronger. It's not that I look better. Like I no longer need to help. Yeah, I no longer needed somebody to help me put my bags up on an airplane because I could just like woof, and it was great. And people would lean over to help anyway, and I'm like, nope, it's okay, I got it, thank you. And that had never happened for me before. So it was like more than anything, just seeing the results for the first time in my life. That was like, okay, all right, this is worth it. Yeah. And the mindset, the mindset that we talked about, like the prioritizing, like what's going to be important to you. I always tell my family, well, I shouldn't, but there's this saying that I heard a couple years ago, which is that we have time for the things we make time for. And it's a matter of what's important to you.
Yes, there's an interesting kind of exercise you can do where essentially if you can look in your calendar and map out how you spent your time for the past 7 days or the past month, for example, and look at, okay, what did I actually spend time on? And it's, ultimately it's a very good reflection of, you might be telling yourself or saying to yourself you want to be doing one thing, but the reality is how you're spending your time is what you are currently prioritizing as a value or whatever else. And so it can be a good reality check of okay, actually I'm spending however long a day on this thing, but actually do I care about that? Or is that who I want to be or what I want to be doing? No, okay, well, I know how long I'm doing it for. How can we change it? I think often it's, sometimes we need to see the granular reality of how we're doing things to know, okay, actually, I don't want to spend it doing that. I want to spend my time doing fitness or whatever else we prioritize.
There's actually a name of it's like the 168 hours in a week.
Yes.
And then you can find printables online where they'll just have you like write out, okay, this is how many hours I sleep and commute and spend on my phone and shower, and then you'll see that you're missing all of these hours and you're like, well, I thought I was, being productive, but actually I can't account for these hours. That's probably because we're wasting time.
Yes. Yeah. Same things, basic ways you can do right now is like you can pull out your phone and look on the screen time tracker that most will have on how long you spend on certain apps. And you can be like, oh, it can be sometimes a good reality check of, oh, okay, obviously if you're using it for work or for social media content and that's things that can skew things. But for many people who maybe aren't, they'll be like, oh, actually I spent 3 hours today on TikTok spread over the day. Like, okay, whilst there's nothing inherently terrible about that, it's also, but is that how you want to be spending your time, versus what you're telling yourself about who you are and what you want to do? I think it's a good thing to good thing to consider, as painful as it can be to look at and see how long you may have spent on that or whatever it may be. It's sometimes a good reality check to do so. Okay, so we chatted a lot about kind of the fitness side of things. How about nutrition for you during residency and I suppose now as well? Like, and as part of your fitness journey, were there any big changes you made, or has that always been something that's been fairly consistent?
No, that's a even perhaps bigger change. I started residency not eating very much, and I actually ended up losing some weight. The food in residency was not great. This is my cat. She's very needy.
It's gorgeous.
The food in my residency was not great, so we didn't have a lot of access to like healthy options. It was kind of tough to, especially if you were working nights, there was no cafeteria. So I would just snack. I would eat these cosmic brownies. I would have a coffee. That was kind of my breakfast, and then I would have chicken fingers for lunch. And after a while, I realized this is not healthy. So that's when I started meal prepping a little bit, not in the traditional of like beautifully curated 5-6 days ahead. But what I would do is when I got home from residency or like from my shift, I would cook dinner for that night and then I would put it away for the next day's lunch. So like I would cook 2 meals. And I felt like that was sustainable because I didn't have to plan ahead. I could just make whatever I had at home and then make a little extra and put that away. So that kind of worked for me, and I started bringing snacks to work, which were like grapes and fruits, and I started eating these protein bars that I like a lot. And so that was much easier to like say no to foods at the hospital. A lot of the free food that you have at the hospital, like pizza parties or cookies, they're not exactly the healthiest options. And when I had good options, it would be much easier to be like, no, it's okay, thank you, I've got my food. And so I kind of became known as the person who would always have snacks on her. So like people would come to me for grapes or kiwis or whatever it was that I had that day. It was, I think, doable because my schedule is maybe not as awful. So I would have like 10-hour shifts instead of 12s. A lot of hospitals do 12s, which I think makes it harder, but it's still possible. Like on weekends we would do 12s and I would still try to prep for tomorrow's lunch. And I think that's the main of it. Oh, I stopped eating gluten for a little bit. My mother was convinced that it was causing inflammation in our family because I don't. This is not scientific advice by any means. This is not at all. But anyway, so she was like, oh, you should try not eating gluten. And I was like, I don't really want to do that. And then one day I just started because why not? And it became just another excuse to not snack because it's a lot harder to find gluten-free foods. So like when the hospital would buy us pizza, I'd be like, thank you, but I can't right now. And so that worked in a weird, I don't know if it had any scientific backing, but mentally it was just a lot easier to say no thank you to foods that were not gluten-free. So that kind of helped.
Yes, I think you were describing there, taking backups, whether it's snacks or like even backup kind of emergency meal options, is a huge difference for many people in terms of, as you say, you've got a better option than having what's in front of you or behind the counter, or instead of that bit of chocolate that's there, it's like, oh, actually, I'm okay, I'd rather have maybe some grapes, or I'd have something else. And don't get me wrong, it's totally fine to occasionally have those
Yeah.
treats or whatever that are there. But if you are someone who's trying to work on a specific goal, whether that's like trying to build muscle or trying to lose weight or just generally be healthier, having healthy backup snacks can make such a difference. And I think what's also good that you highlight there is it is possible to make the time. And I think sometimes what I tell people to think about is, well, like, how long do you spend shopping for what you currently eat versus, and it's like, well, even maybe the not so good options that you're buying at the moment, you still have to go buy those, you still have to cook them, typically in some way. It's like, actually, how much time difference is it really between having some better options and buying those versus some not so good options? Often there's not that actual much difference in time. It's just about that prep and make sure you have stocked the house with better options, and you buy those instead of not so good options. There's those small tweaks and changes that you highlight there that I think are the big things. But yeah, having backups is so
Very helpful.
so valuable, and it makes you friends. People want to come and steal your food. So,
They do.
that's
And then the
awesome.
other thing, and I think this can be very divisive. It's not advice, but it worked for me. I started tracking my intake, and not so much the calories, but the macros. I learned what macros are. Nobody ever taught me. I was never a fitness person in college. I never did a sport, so like I had no idea what macros were. And I will I will be honest, and I say I got most of my information from TikTok, so not exactly the highest level of resource there, but I started tracking my macros, and it worked for me because I'm such an optimist, and I would feed myself this information, like this story that, oh, I barely ate anything today. And then when I looked at what I had eaten, like when I thought about what I had eaten, and I realized, oh, I did have a lot of food today, and most of it was sugar. And so by tracking my macros, I was able to take a step back and realize that I was delusional about how little I was eating or how healthy I was eating, because the little things truly add up. And between tracking my macros and kind of learning the protein lie that I think we're fed, so realizing that a lot of things that are marketed as high protein are in fact not high protein. I mean, they're higher protein than no protein,
The
but
default, but yeah.
yeah, but they're not like high protein. Once I learned how to look for that, I realized, okay, I can actually make intentional choices about what kind of food I want to eat. And if I want to eat high protein, then I will actually eat high protein. And if I want to have a molten lava cake, then I'll do that. And
Yeah.
I'll be okay with it. So that helped a lot. And I know calorie, or let's call it macro tracking, doesn't work for everyone, because it just doesn't work for everyone. It really worked for me because it allowed me to see what I was actually eating and stop lying to myself about how healthy I was being.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's fantastic advice. Honestly, it's I see macro tracking isn't necessary for everyone, but tracking in some form, even just doing a basic food journal for so many people is it's a bit lighter in terms of overheads. You're not looking at specific numbers, but you're just looking at what did I have today. And I think particularly in healthcare, when you can be so rushed off your feet throughout the day, you can often be maybe less mindful about the choices you make and things you kind of eat, and you may not even realize you're doing it in the moment. And just going home, like taking that step back and saying, okay, what did I actually have today versus what I told myself. The differences between what you think and reality can be so enormous, but it can be so useful to then be like, okay, actually, yourself, that learning you get from it and reflection it's invaluable. It's one of the big things I often focus with people on out the gate is, let's just do a basic food journal, because we don't need to jump to calorie tracking and be as in depth. Just doing some food journaling alone can make such a difference for many people, and realizing, oh, actually, I'm finding by 11 a.m. I've eaten an entire pack of biscuits.
Yeah.
Turns out, oh, actually, that pack of biscuits is like 1,000 calories in itself. So it's going to be very hard for me to lose weight if I'm eating 1,000 calories in biscuits every morning. And here's why it's not filling me and why I feel hungry all the time. And then, all those things often just stem from just a little bit of reflection. So, super cool. And it's good that you managed to get it from TikTok as well. Some people would get from TikTok and go a completely different direction. So I'm glad actually you got on the right path, which is cool. And you kind of answered maybe my next question, which was just going to be around, is there maybe a fitness or nutrition belief that you maybe used to hold that then has changed since you, I suppose, went through that process and where you are now?
I would say the protein thing. I mean, I saw this meme the other day which said, I've never had as much peer pressure to eat protein
Yes.
in my 30s as I did to do drugs in my teens. And I get that because it's funny, and a lot of us talk about protein and protein this, protein that. But anyway, I think for me, looking at the nutrition label has been very, very informational because I never used to. Like, I would just eat whatever I wanted, and I would never consider, like, is this worth it? And now that I do, and I look at the like protein intake and I look at the fiber, it's like, okay, so I'm making these decisions based on information that I have, and I never used to do that. So I think for me, I don't know if this is really a change or anything. Like, it's not a change of mentality. It's like I never even thought to do this in the past.
Yeah, I get. Well, ultimately, you're just much better informed, I think, than in terms of like your decisions you're making are now more mindful and informed, I suppose, around food, which is a huge change in itself. But yeah, it is pretty. Once you see it, once you see the what's just called marketing
Yes.
untruths, you want to see the marketing lies in a lot of products. You're like, it's hard to then unsee it, but it's super interesting to see how many things are now high protein, but they've gone from being zero point 0.1 gram to 1 gram of protein in that high protein product. And, it's, yeah, but that's the thing. Fitness and nutrition industry is a huge marketing machine. And, yeah, if people can slap high protein on it for the moment, then it's probably going to make more money. So it's, yeah, beware of your protein content when you are buying something that says high protein. Quite often the normal option could often be just as, if not a better option, quite occasionally, or a lot cheaper. Or there's better ways to get it in, as you've probably found going through this journey as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's super interesting, and I'm assuming very much in the US that the push for protein is as high as it is here in the UK as well. Yeah, and I feel like the ads you have in the US as well are a bit more. A bit stronger in the messaging maybe than they can be in the UK.
I actually don't watch a lot of ads. I've got myself, like, I pay YouTube Premium to not have to watch ads. I don't watch TV, so I have no idea, but I assume yes. I do know that the weight loss medication ad space is extremely trendy right now. So I imagine the high protein stuff is as well. And it's interesting because I know certain coffee chains actually have like protein vanilla lattes now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it truly is sweeping the nation.
Yes, every brand, if they can include it, they will. Yeah, I don't know if protein coffee's hit here yet, but I guess if it's successful in the US, then it could well end up here too. I imagine it's probably just they're either putting more milk in, or it's maybe one of the milks you can buy that has like a higher protein
Yeah.
content as standard, rather than I would assume they're not putting protein powder in a latte, but who
I
knows?
think it's just the milk, but I'm not sure. Do not quote me on that. And
Yeah,
I've
no,
tried it and it tastes fine, but it's more expensive. It's like $2 extra for a latte. And it's not
yes.
that high in protein, obviously, because it's a latte. It's a latte with sugar.
Yeah, it's probably got more protein and probably more sugar in it at the same time, I'd imagine,
Yeah.
to make it still be tasty, despite the additional way in which probably, yeah, depending on your goal, really makes it less ideal for some people, even more so. Yeah, it's, yeah, wild. Okay, so yeah, definitely some change in nutrition, but I think the sign around more mindful eating, like being more informed, I think it's just such a good skill. But I think, is it something that you find has maybe helped you with patient interactions, like having a better knowledge around fitness and nutrition? Do you think that's been helpful in your career?
It doesn't come up that much in emergency medicine. People
True.
tend not to like it when you comment on weight. I have had this conversation with parents with children who are maybe growing at an unhealthy pace. It's a very, very hard conversation to have. Parents obviously they get a little defensive, and I never mean to assume anything. So
Yes,
it's a
very
hard
hard.
conversation to have. I do bring it up sometimes, and I think people kind of look at me and they're like, well, it's easy for you to say, without realizing how much effort goes into maintaining what I've achieved. And It's such a hard thing.
Yes, yes.
Luckily, weight-related things are usually not emergencies. So,
Yeah, it's whilst I'm putting your hip back in. Can I just
yeah,
talk to you about calorie intake?
yeah.
Probably doesn't
Are you
happen that
tracking
often.
your macros?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I think knowing how difficult it has been for me to maintain where I am just makes me cognizant of how hard it is to start and to continue. So I think it makes me a more, oh, jeez, it makes me a more reasonable human being.
yes, yeah. I think it can help you. I think that's the thing. It's good to recognize like the knowledge that you have as a doctor of health and everything else. How even with that, how much more you still need to learn and how difficult it is for you to be able to do it alongside work. And it's like, okay, then your average member of the public who has less knowledge around health and education on the health and fitness nutrition side of things, then even more difficult it can be for them to do so. And yes, I think it's something where people I've worked with, when it comes to those who maybe work as a family physician or in general
Yeah.
practice, and maybe have more of those conversations. It's kind of more from their own experience. They're like, well, here's things I do and that I like, and I only got into fitness a few years ago, and here's what I did. It gives, I guess, more conversation points to be able to discuss with someone rather than the usual, like, okay, you just need to move more and eat less, because for so many people, that's just not helpful advice. If it was as simple as that, yeah, the world would be would be different. But yes, it's definitely useful. And there's people wondering, Helena's basically being snuggle savaged by her cat
Yes,
at
she's
this
very
time. If you're watching
needy.
the video, it's good fun. Cool. So before your cat cuts you off, if you could give med school you one piece of advice around health, fitness, nutrition, like what would it be?
What we said about prioritizing, make time for what's important to you, and then just be kinder to yourself. Not every month is going to go as well as the previous month. It really depends on what rotation I was on. Sometimes I was working out, sometimes I didn't work out at all. So I think just like understanding that it doesn't have to be perfect all the time, every day, every week. There's going to be ups and downs, and just keep being consistent. And I say that now knowing I haven't been consistent for a few months. But in the back of my head, I'm like, I could go back, and I will, and I want to. But yeah, there's going to be times in your life where it's easier, and there's times when it's harder. And I think the important thing is always to just go back to the basics and start fresh. And you're never starting from zero. So like if you've worked out consistently, it might feel like, oh my God, now I'm back to zero. This is awful. I can't do it again. But you're never actually starting from zero. You've already built up muscle and strength and stamina and mental wellness, and that's going to come back a lot easier the second time and the third time around.
Yeah, yeah, no, I love that. Couldn't put it better. It's a really common thing we see, and no doubt you experienced or saw in colleagues at the time as well, of people who have much more of an all or nothing kind of approach of like, they max out for a month or two.
And that's kind of me too, yeah. Because when I don't work out, it's so much harder to get back into it. Because it's like, well, I didn't work out yesterday, so I guess what's one more day? And then it's like, I have to remind myself that all or nothing is not going to get me better. So yeah.
Yes, that consistency is the biggest thing. And as you say, recognizing you're going to have bad months or bad weeks, and that's okay. It's more about getting back on that bandwagon around that rather than seeing that as a reason to just stop completely. Because it's a choice it's a choice you can make in med school, but as we've discussed, throughout med school, throughout residency, that's going to be a thing you've got to handle. And it's like, do you want to have the next, depending on which specialty and everything you're training for, 5, 10, or even more years if you do a fellowship and things as well, of that, caught in that kind of eat, sleep, work, repeat cycle. It's a long time to not be doing something for yourself or prioritizing yourself, I think, in that journey. So yeah, I think sage advice for anyone listening on that front. So last question for you is, outside of fitness and your cat, is there one small habit or ritual you maybe do every day or every week that helps you kind of stay, I suppose, grounded when work and life gets a bit chaotic?
That's a good question. Um, I tend to write down my thoughts. Now I've been doing it a lot more publicly because of my platform where I share difficult cases or like difficult interactions. But I found that like just writing it down, even in my own personal Tumblr, it's been, I know Tumblr, 20 years ago, but it's been cathartic, and so it allows me to ground myself and take a moment and gives me a lot of perspective on life. I think in emergency medicine, but in all fields of medicine, we see so much suffering and strife and disease, and you see young people getting cancer diagnoses. You just see all these awful, awful things, and one, it can be really hard to stomach and shoulder this all the time, but two, it also gives me perspective and like gratitude for my life and my health, and it makes me more motivated to like take care of myself. Not that, obviously, not that that can prevent everything, but it just reminds me like I'm happy, I'm healthy, I have a good job, I love what I do. Like today's little inconvenience is not the end of the world. And kind of writing this out, it's a good reminder.
Yeah, that's amazing. Is there, for people listening, is there a particular like framework you follow, or do you just kind of let the words flow each day? Like how do you do it?
It's definitely not each day. It's usually when something happened that really affects me, and a lot of it will be patient cases, and I just let it flow. And I consider myself a writer, a private writer. So I just like, I put it down, and then I reread it, and then I cry a little bit, and then I relive the moments, and it's just very cathartic. But it's usually typed because I'm a quicker typist than I'm a handwriter. And I think it doesn't have to be public. It doesn't have to be fancy. Like you can take a Google Doc, which is free, and just type your words out, and it doesn't have to be legible or beautiful or meaningful as long as you're getting your thoughts out. But I know some people who do similar cathartic things with like music or art. Like one of my friends started watercolor painting, and it's not like it's not your pretty landscape watercolor. It's like her angry feelings of dark colors, and it's cathartic for her, and that's great.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's a really good outlet, and there's many different things people can do from a journaling perspective, whether it's letting it flow like you do, or using something. There's different structures people can follow as well out there. There's things like worry journals, which can also be quite effective for some people.
Ooh,
Sometimes
what's a
people who
worry
use,
journal?
pretty simple. Very in some ways like what you described, and it might be as simple as what are the things I'm worrying about at the moment, and then what's the is it controllable or uncontrollable, and if it's controllable, what's maybe the basic plan I could do to help it, and if it's uncontrollable, it's first accepting, well, I can't necessarily directly influence it, and then maybe there is a plan, that something you could do alongside it to help you feel better about it, or just accepting there's nothing you can do. But like you described, that just act of putting it pen to paper or on Google Docs or whatever you do it on helps get it out the back of your head and gets it on paper, so you can fall asleep or not be waking up at 2 a.m. with your head going 100% because you're still thinking about that thing as much. So yeah, worry journals can be effective for some people.
I did that, and I didn't know that that was a thing. But a couple of months ago, I had a lot of things. So, like trying to buy a house, trying to study for my exam, trying to do legal paperwork, and like not having a job. So, there were like 20 different things, and I wrote them all out. And then I did like, if I fail my exam, this is what I do. If I pass my exam, this is what I do. If I don't get the house, we'll do this. If we do get the house, well, then great. And so, oh my God. That's amazing. I never knew that was the name of it. I am going to share that on my page.
Yeah, they're fantastic. I'm a big fan of them. And I think it might be something you just do for certain occasions or certain times in your year or month. It's not something you necessarily have to do every week. I think, like you said earlier, it doesn't need to be fancy or beautiful. It's about what works for you and doing it when you need it. And just knowing there's a mechanism like that can be helpful for you is often useful. I think when you're overwhelmed and things are chaotic, it's often good just to give you a bit of feeling of control and structure and a bit of a plan. I think often that's what people often just need a little bit of when we're feeling that way. So yeah, worry journals can be super helpful. I think the other thing that's really possible to do nowadays as well, accessibly, is even not writing it down or having to type it out, is just using voice translation on your phone. Then that can make it even easier. And for some people, it can be more raw because it's just their thoughts coming out onto it rather than having to type it. So that can also be another way to do it. It's just, Google voice to text. Sorry, that's what I'm looking for. Voice to text on Google Docs, or even ChatGPT if you wanted to use an AI-based tool for that kind of thing. That can also do it quite well as a good option. But big fan of Warrior Journals. Found for a lot of people who struggle maybe with night waking, thinking about cases, it can be one tool that can help. Obviously, if someone is struggling, do go see a professional.
Of course.
All the options, etc. But it's a nice lightweight thing that you can try for yourself that can often help for those just particularly difficult weeks or moments in life, not just from work, but from whatever it might be. As you say, moving house is stressful enough.
I did it to myself, but it was a lot all at once.
Yes. Yeah, what's that saying? It's like, don't move house, have a kid, start a job, do all those things at the same time. And you ticked off quite a few of those.
Yes. My mom was like, why do you have to do everything at once? And I'm like, I was in training for the better portion of my 20s. Like, I'm ready to start life. So, like, we bought a house, I got a new job, I passed my board exam. Like, there's just so many things that we're getting married this year. Like, everything's happening in 1 year. Delayed gratification.
Yeah. Might as well. Why not do them all at the same time? It's doable. 100% doable. We moved house, had a baby, changed jobs, started a company. We did that all in the space of a year. It's, you'll be fine. So I think lastly, I think everyone listening probably already knows who you are and follows you. But if not, where's the best place to kind of follow you and keep up to date with everything you do?
You can follow me on Instagram at A Young Doctor's Journey. I'm also on TikTok, but I would say that's more for like clinically minded things, so like study resources or like clinical resources. But on Instagram, I try to share like the ups and the downs of medicine and life in medicine and all the things that I'm learning as a first year attending, and specifically focusing on the things that you should not do wrong, because I already did and now I'm struggling. So if you're interested, if you're like an early career physician, trying to do medicine and start a business and taxes and all that stuff, then yeah, come follow along.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you to your cat as well. It's been fantastic speaking to you, and we'll have to do a future episode once you've got married, had the house, on the next phase in a year's time. But thanks again for coming on. So good to chat.
Thank you so much for having me.
This podcast was brought to you by Become Athletic, the leaders in supporting healthcare professionals with their own health, fitness, nutrition, and mindset. If you'd like to learn more, visit becomeathletic.com for further information. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.